Okay, we can start. In this, Dr. Faculty Member İsmail Ergen will talk about the new development of technology. Welcome again. You can start whenever you are ready. I'm ready. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Welcome here to our university. This is an amazing event for us. We hope to continue this event in the following years. I was going to talk to you about AI experience design, but I wanted to change it up a bit. There are some new faces here, and I don't really want to talk in way too much detail. So I'm going to talk to you about what can we do about games. When we say AI, if you are a gamer, you use AI in one way or other, but I don't think we should explain the AI you are using right now. As a teacher or a part of this university, our mission is to show the way forward. So I think we're stealing the role from your daily lives because you're more active in this area than us. You maybe spend 8 hours a day in that area, but we can't do that. But as teachers, as educators, we have to show you a vision. We have to tell you what you are going to do in the future so you can pave a way for yourself. What do you use AI for? We use AI for getting better images. We use it for level generation. We use it to improve the story. And we use it in game complexity and NPCs. We use AI in all these areas. But what's the purpose of this? Why are we using AI? The purpose is for experience design. We want to allure the gamer. We want to make the gamer buy the game, and we want the gamer to play the game and make them spend money. And what methods are we using? You probably know them already. There's a decision tree is one of the AI methods. Natural networking, reinforcement learning. These are all used in Fear, FIFA. I don't need to explain them to you. You know them better than I do. But as I said, the basis for this is experience design. We want to understand what the customers think, what the gamers think. I want to introduce myself. I'm the head of department in Istinye University. I lived about 15 years in USA. I joined several competitions. I made research about this subject. And I'm working on AI and experience design. For me, the most important thing is, if you have seen me present, you might know this. And people say you always repeat this subject, but I don't really mind, because in order to sell something, you have to go to the buyer for 7 times. If not, they don't understand that you are a part of them. That's really important. In Turkey, there is no statistic about this. But in our learning, in order to push you forward, I have to explain some things again and again to you. This is a curse and an advantage, because we're always telling the same stuff. When you look at the history, the most important thing in human race is communication. We do everything through our mobile phones or YouTube right now, but back then, the communication was done through painting back then. They just painted on the walls or on the rocks. Then we can understand the daily lives of people who drew those pictures. Then we switch from pictures to hieroglyphs or wall carvings. in years, we had print press, we had books, we had more readable books, and people were enlightened. Then everybody started creating ideas. Then these ideas got more complex and got maybe a bit dirty. We see the same thing in design. Right now, in the mobile games we make, you can see there are millions of games, there are an abundance of mobile games, and the players and the gamers are also feeling this abundance. They don't know which one to buy, which one to download, which one to pay money to. So there's a trend here, and that trend is Bauhaus. Bauhaus started as a architectural trend. It's a simplification trend, and it was followed by everybody else. So their ethos is simple is complex. So why are we looking back in the history? History repeats itself. Maybe it repeats itself differently, but it definitely repeats itself. So with the advent of television, people started reading less books. The print press, the advantages of print press was removed by the television. If I could show what I do through books to millions of people, with television, it's maybe to billions of people. Do you know how many televisions are in USA? Those are the numbers. This number has rose to 72 million in the years, throughout the years. We used to create games before mobile games. People wanted to buy them. People would buy CDs. You know, Blockbuster, which failed in America, we would rent games for PS Vita or PS2. We would rent games for Wii. But nowadays, everybody can reach the games right now. Who is our customer here? When I was studying in the USA, one of the most important subjects in strategic planning was this. So you have a customer and you want to sell something, you have to market something, but who are you selling to? If you define your customer well, selling is much easier. I was in the strategy department back there. I would review the data of the customer, then I would present this to the creators. So I would say, this person can buy your product. I would give details to them. I would work on hours on end, and I would have to talk to everybody because there wasn't a lot of data back then. So we had to find data. Then we had to conduct a research with 400 people. We would ask them questions. We would gather people from the streets and we would pay them good money. Then we would ask them about ideas. We would do quantitative and qualitative tests. But the world has changed right now. We can do everything through our phones, and all those data is available to us now, or Google owns those data, that data. When these ideas came up in 1950s, there was an Alan Turing. In 1950, a computer was as big as a room. It filled the entire room. Imagine that world. Nobody had mobile phones, no computers, and there's a single computer that is as big as a room. Maybe there wasn't a screen, there wasn't a DOS, you couldn't enter commands there. And so a computer was in one room, some person was in another room, and there was a question asker. And they would ask people, in which room is there a person, and in which room there was a computer. So let's say we took this computer and teach it how to speak like a human. Okay, but people still could tell which one is computer and which one was a person. Then they taught the PC to the computer to make mistakes like a human does. When they taught the computer to make mistakes, it didn't work. Then they told the computer to make mistakes, speak like a human, and give wrong answers. this time the survey takers couldn't tell which one is the computer and which one was the person. We stepped into another world with the advent of Mac. Steve Jobs showed us that design and functionality could go hand in hand. So he wasn't an engineer, he wasn't a designer, but he wasn't anything, he was a genius. The most important point here is that he could look at things at a different perspective, and he could tell what people wanted. The first person to present us with the experience design was Steve Jobs. Now we had web development, Web 1. Before the times of computers would connect people. Web 2 includes socialization, so Facebook, Twitter, social media, basically. And Web 3 is a blockchain, cloud. So storage is in the air now. Storage isn't done locally. And now Web 4 is coming up, a smarter environment where computers can think for us. We still couldn't make the change to Web 4, but Web 5 is already ready. It's not for us, but University of Berkeley is working on it. University of Berkeley is publishing articles on Web 5. Bekir is shaking his hand ahead. I think he already knows about it. And he knows we are behind in translation. We are behind 20 years from where we should be right now. Now, when we come to talking computer phase, we will have Web 5. Computers will be talking without us telling them to. Then we have metaverse. Nobody exactly knows what it is. Nobody knows exactly what it does. But everybody thinks to themselves, how can I make money from it? It was like that with blockchain as well. Blockchain was really important for companies back then because they could store their data in some point, but they then thought to themselves, how can we make money from blockchain? So they found ways for it. And then Bitcoin came up, then NFT came up. Now they're pumping it. Nobody knows how people make money from it. There's a big money going around, but nobody knows how it's done. Nobody knows the secret behind it. Now metaverse is coming up. It is coming because there's a need for it. And why is this need there? We as human race, we are selling experience through computers with games. When you're designing a game, what are you selling? You sell the want to play that game. Even when I'm playing Candy Crush Saga, I want to have fun in Candy Crush Saga. So you are selling the experience. So with this much information in the world, we are trying to look not what we are. We want to look different. We want to feel different because in games we feel that, and that is why metaverse is coming up. It will come for sure because that's our want. That's what gamers want. Okay, let's go back to history again. In 1962, they made a game called Space Why? There is no graphics. There is two spaceships. They send lines to each other, and they are trying to shoot each other. In 1962, with a computer as big as a room, they tried to make such a game. There wasn't a graphic, and there wasn't a need for graphic because the customer was already ready, and the world didn't know what a game was, so they would buy anything. Then Pong came up. Then Atari games came up. There's more graphics, but it's still two lines going back and forth. In 73, or let's look at now. We have Space War. We see all the details in the space. We have Pong, and you put on your VR headset and play Pong with anybody from the world. So with your game, the first thought should be this, in terms of your customer. Who is playing this game? So when you're making Pong, you knew two people, and you would appeal to two people that is coming to Atari arcades. But nowadays, people maybe want to play with their friends in Japan, maybe in USA, maybe they want to do sports, maybe they want a more professional version of Pong, and what they want to prepare for competitions. And that is why experience design is important. And that is why data is important. I repeat myself in this subject. I went to a Google event in USA. Only Google employees were allowed there. Google said, we are the company with the highest investments in flash disks, USB disks, because they needed it. How did Google start? Do you know that? There was a firm called Yahoo, and there was Altanis before that. Yahoo was the first in class in terms of search engines, and Yahoo would scan the entire internet for websites, but Google decided that wasn't working. So three people wanted to download all the data to servers, to hard disks. Then whenever someone searched something, they could search that thing in their hard disks. Then they tried to come up with a way to do this. So they went to the dean in Stanford University. They presented their idea, but he said, we have this idea, but we don't have servers. So the dean gave them permission to use their servers, their HDDs. Then after that, Google downloaded the entire information, all the information in the world to their servers. Then they said, the servers are too big. We have all this information, but the servers are too big. That's why Google invested in flash disks and flash drives to make it more portable. Nowadays, we don't even need to carry those flash drives because we have cloud, but they invested in that. Google managed to do that successfully, and they had so much data in their hand, so much information in their hand, but they didn't know what to do with it. So Google knows when we go to the toilet, they know how much we stay in there, they know what we do in there, they know the path we take, they know when we take the car, when we get in the car, they know where we are going, because they have the data. And then the Google wanted to teach AI how to do what they did with flash drives. So Google invests most to AI. As with Facebook invests a lot in AI as well because they have a lot of data. So they want to utilize the information they have. They don't want to use humans for utilizing data. They want to use robots, programs, and they are using them. Last August, there was a paper from Berkeley University. And it says AI isn't as smart as we think, because we are just at the stage A of AI, and it will go through from A to Z. But I'm not even gonna get into A here of AI. But the main reason for this is UX design. When we are designing UX, we access the data through our games, through our programs. And this functionality, reliability, and usability must be present. Sometimes you do those things, you manage those things without even thinking about it. You are a gamer, you do them automatically. But convenience, enjoyable, and significant aspects must be added later on. You should present them to your gamers, to your customers. You have to understand the people. So interest, memory, and magic is the main aspects of it. But as with everything in life, it's all about storytelling. Okay, look at yourself. You always tell a story. I told you a lot of stories just now. Now, if this interests you, you will tell this conference to some other people. And in your relationships, you tell stories. Why are you becoming friends? Because you share about your life. You tell your stories. If you can't, if you find somebody that doesn't tell any stories, you call them a nerd and you don't hang out with them anymore. That's really important. Storytelling is really important, and storytelling is the basis of games as well. Idea and storytelling are two different things. Okay, idea is good, but what's the story about it? Is I asked my students, and some people ask me, say to me, not every game has to have a story, but I disagree. Every single game has a story to tell. When telling a story, it's important to design the experience. It's about critical thinking. It's about design thought and human-based design. So with the data, there's an approach that Ben Forman put forward. And he said we should put humans at the center, and we should put the target audience in the center and design your game on that center. Before designing a game, in thoughts and problem stage, we find the problems, we find the data, we put it in the center, and then we design the game. What do we say nowadays? Hey, I have an idea, let's design a game. And when you ask who is going to buy this, who is going to play this, and we can't find an answer. So back then it was nice, but now you have way too much competition. If your competition knows who you are selling to, who is going to sell their product easier, of course they side with the more data. You have something, is it easier to sell it to some random people or a targeted audience? I might say this is way too small for me and I don't buy it, but if somebody knew my size, I would buy them. I'll buy from them. You have to ask simple questions. It's not a complex concept. You don't have to write a dissertation on it. What I tell sounds simple to people, and that's normal because I try to simplify as best as I can. Like Bauhaus, I played basketball for years. I was a professional. I did sports. In peak performance condition, I played football. I would play basketball for 6 months, and I would play football. Okay, we were playing football. There was a ball. We are training our best, but the football team didn't train at all. But the field wasn't as we expected. In my peak condition, in my body's peak condition, I couldn't make the ball reach the goal. I told myself, these guys work so hard that it looks simple, but it's way too hard. Even in my peak condition, it was way too hard. But if we gave the ball, a basketball ball to them, they wouldn't be able to reach the ring. So you have to simplify your game design, as with everything in life. So you have to ask simple questions. Why, how, if, when. These are simple questions. You have to ask the right question at the right time to be able to find the problem. This is present in every single present of mine, and I will use it until the day I die.
Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. So design, functionality and functionality. Well, how it makes others feel is important. So you need to find out what you're going to tell. If you find that, well, this is how it's going to be easy for you. I think you were working on this, right? Of this, it is an event in the entire world. because it's health, and you know how it's going to be done. Is this really interesting, or is this already passed and it will probably be there's probably quite cases where they wouldn't have known, or it would have been quite niche. So timing is quite timing. So I think I'm not gonna go into this, but this is one thing that to take this account. And Stanford University is where I follow most of the time. So whatever they do, I try to help. So I copy them, do it very well. And well, there is not really long about being a copycat. As long as you build on, you need to build on stuff. Some but you read out and Stanford, you're gonna ideate it. So prototype it and you will test it, right? You are making it there, and from prototyping, it's wrong, and if it design, we tend to go with boring, but these products and target market, the player and who you are in it very well. If you tell it very well, then after explain it, your idea on it, and for startups, this so this is where you understand whether you can right. Yeah, this is what about. First question is the idea failed, and what will you do? This is the first that I ask as an investor. Will you first may have a great idea about games and about your customers, you've asked about it, and the gamer said, I don't really want this. But you will push them, you will challenge them. Maybe it's the idea. Well, this is something that we describe for startups sometimes, or you will have an idea according to your customer. You will then provide them, you will then test it. So this circle is not going to end. And one of the greatest design companies in the world is IDEO. They tell about everything, and David is a co-founder, and he said, from thinking of ourselves as designers, thinking of ourselves as design thinkers, which is key. And one approach that I adopted, because I will say it because I found it and I'm proud of myself. So in 1991, Neil Gaiman came up with three different the concepts of competency. So perceivable, perceptible, secret, and wrong. So this is when you started to collect data. For example, door handle. It is something that you can perceive. And when we see it from afar, we understand that we can open the door without any handles. We allow the sensor. Without another sensor, we know how to open the door. Our brains are not been trained. My son, for example, without any basketball, will he know how to play with it? Whatever he does with the ball in his idea, in his perception, he will do it. So if you are playing for a game, this is important. Whatever you're trying to make them do, you need to show it to them. And you see, hamburger menu, it was in 1993. We thought it was really 1991, and we are still using it. We are still teaching it, covering it in classes. It was done in 1996, but we don't have to change it, right? You don't have to tell it, right? But no, we have to, because people have to learn over and over. You are on a website, and what is a line where it is a link, and this case doesn't work. There is a mistake. So if a popular game is using mechanics, and if you are changing it by using mechanics, people are used to it, and they will automatically want to do the same thing. And in 2001, about 10 years have passed, and the approaches, the internet is more widespread right now, and to the cart, and they understood it. And the carts said, if we want women to make those instructions about execution, so we shouldn't be direct, otherwise there is a backlash. And in this case, we need to tell something in the form of instruction, because they stroll but they don't purchase anything, and they say add to cart, and then there is a purchase button. But it's a bit unkind, right? It may not really have an impact on that, but if you just go into the store and if you tell a woman to buy, it would be unkind, but only if you do that. Or a swipe right or left. Tinder, I think, is president that when Tinder was launched abroad, there was one problem logic. The only logic was swiping left or right. The person that you like, if you like them, you swipe left, and if you like them, you swipe right, I guess. But it was simple. So they did the same thing, and they didn't do anything else. So the basic logic has been defined quite a lot, and it was basically the method that everybody right. So the logic would be the same. Everything would be was the same. All of it was monitored, and was habits implemented, and it was either swiping left, or swiping right. It was such a simple idea behind it, and Tinder created that, and it well, then the sensibility is starting for census, and there is a bot, for example, like in Ping, everybody uses it, and we could bye at our company. So there is a bot and we send it all the time, so it goes back and forth from the devices to smartphones, and you don't even realize it. But this is how data is exchanged, and this is how Google understands that you want, and this is how it's collected. And this is where I am feeling a bit spoiled, and this is how I basically hide in. The first is the robotic approach, and uh, again, artificial intelligence robots or software developers. We have sites we have played already, but in the States, for example, there are robots that download games. Have you seen them before? Well, there were things that they were liking in China, 100 phones in front of the guy and trying to create likes the sound was like the service. But now we have robots downloading games. People it's like following you were paying as you were downloading, and Google stores were paying you, but it's not anymore. This one paid if yeah, because the problem is that you don't want the game at all after you download. It's not valued. It's using customers. So this is why they think you're a robot. And this is one approach. And the other is steady approach. So we know what people want, we know what people like, and we test it. So we tested, and to provide color has evolved. I think it can Google understand the age and the number and what the original is. This lives in by red, and this is when red splashed all over the place. To all Italian ones, it was throughout history that they were asked, and people were asked. AI was trained accordingly, so they said artificial intelligence and robots. They like Stella, and they 10,000 Stella. So we were looking at what intelligence wants after they were placed in the market. It was sold out. So without designer doing having to do anything, it was sold out. And I think it's a marketing and advertising agency started using an AI algorithm for this kind of campaign. And it up for a woman and the customer said, I would like to work with you. And why is this woman not coming? And this was an AI, but the person doesn't really understand. It's hard to even so AI was basically a robot there. There was not a real woman. So this is how much is involved in our lives. I'm going to conclude because I think I took much of your time already. But story. So no matter what you do, no matter what you will do, you may find boyfriends, girlfriends, you may get married, you may sell your product, but the only thing that is powerful for you, if you never matter what type you have, what kind of a character you have, or where your product, or how much money you make. It doesn't matter. So if you want to sell your investor, you need to understand your story. So that's your story. how many downloads it got. So you need to ask improve questions. To ask improve questions if there is anything powerful behind it. So if there is an opportunity for you, and I think everybody can to ask, as long as I lectured in Turkey, as I was a lecturer in Turkey, I told my students, you need to ask questions, and unfortunately, nobody does. So by asking questions, you can have a lot of data. You can ask questions in your job. You can ask the questions in the business that, well, if you don't have anyone around you, just go to forums, go to the and ask questions, and place action and human the center of your design in the design. So you need to put human being center, and expert users and customers should use your payment products, and they should be conveying what you created. This is how we can sell. So if your story is told by others, you are valuable. I can brag here. At the moment I take outside, you will start talking about that. But if that person, if a person in the talks about the story that I conveyed, that I told you, in this case, I'm a valuable person. And award is quite important. Everybody is my recognition and rewards. And I state that and with Wednesday, will he be happy with a piece of chocolate? They would be happy. They are driving Wednesday, but it's a piece of chocolate and they feel happy. And I was very much surprised when I heard about it. But when I'm given some chocolate, I feel quite happy. So that's why to have recognition, it's important to get a reward. It doesn't have to be money, it doesn't have to be anything, but it's something that makes the other feel good. That's why the reward is important. They need to feel different things. And to sum it up, innovation, what we call innovation, this is the state of both design and technology. They are inseparable. So one thing, well, uh, they should be their equal portions. So we need to bring them together. Well, thank you. Any questions to Ismail? Because he asked people to ask questions. I was concerned that nobody was going to ask. Thank you very much for your presentation. I am interested in the part where you talked about investors for the American market. Was that relevant for the American market, or because looking at my circle from the teams of game developers, because it is quite the opposite. The number of downloads and how much they sell. This is basically the type of investors that we encounter in Turkey. That's why I wanted you to go into detail of that. Okay, here's an example, and then I will talk about Uber. Do you think that you know how it was in San Francisco? There, they place a cliff house around the China Bridge. It's a great restaurant, and the founder of Uber there spoke to investors, and as they were drinking, he puts a piece of napkin in front of it, and it's the idea. And the investor sees it, and he gets his first investment. Well, and what's written in there is a taxi in San Francisco. It says, I'm going to make all cars into taxis, and the company will not own any taxis. And this is the moment that he got the money. And here, investor profile. We have a problem with that too. It is not a problem, but investor profile. You need to choose as a startup the profile of investor, because when you are released, and the construction workers also, or construction engineers, they put money in the game. And I know investors who never play the game in their lives, and they would like to invest in it as well. They have great idea about commerce, like you're a very commercial mind, and everybody. money, and he thinks he can make money as well. And then you have to talk about numbers, and then this is when the story comes into play. So my play is really good. It's been downloaded 10,000 times, and these are my metrics, etc. And this is when basically tell them a story, because there is nothing like the reality here. So nobody will know. But if you bump into the right investor who's done it before, investor who knows what can sell, looking at the dynamics, they will look at your story. I mean, this is what we expect investors to say, or what we expect to, or how am I going to make money with that? So this is when they think about you as well. So, and then when they believe that they can make money with that, they pay you. So in your case, we convince them that we will make money. This is another profile, but the fundamental here is that we are well, the investor will give you some money and he will be expecting 150. Yeah, so it's later stage. Expecting more. It's not because of your beautiful face that they're investing money in your game. And so this is why we have so many different profiles of investors. And there is not really any meaning if you just expect any kind of investor profiles to come to you. You need to pick your own investor. I have a friend who has a very strong team, and so they show the spreadsheet to me. They had talks with 50 investors, and there were different people and prototypes, a huge spectrum of profiles that they talked with. And there were investors who had absolutely no interest in me, and then what we saw was as follows: the people who were not in the industry, their financial opportunities were a bit higher. However, those who knew the industry, who have played games before, and the investors and the proposals that they came up with was lower. And the dilemma was that should we get higher proposals from those who have no idea, or should we proceed with people with the benefit of what? So as we worked on it in the US, we provide consulting. This is basically business development side of it, because startups have such awareness in their mood that, of course, for the quality of the work that they do, we can't really have an idea about it, because that's what they do. But whether this will make money, whether this will sell, it is quite important to check. And the strategy and the game that you do will play a role as that. And the analysis that you would like to ask is to keep that. So do you need to run your game, or do you need to have money? Yes, sometimes you have more money, but right next to you, there is an investor asking you what you did with your money. So bring your books. Say, well, the investor coming in and asking your books every month. But this is how they make money. Well, imagine working with an oil company. 1 million TL of investment in oil from an oil company. They will really wreck you because they work with cash money. So they go home in the evening, they open their wallet and they say 30,000. So you take 1 million TL from them and you say, I'm going to make you earn money. And then they will ask you every day. And sometimes they even do it for the sake of it, for the show of it, actually. I have a company, I made an investment, I'm going to call them. I'm not kidding. I saw all of them. And then you feel like you're cursed and regret having received money from them. So this is how you need to look at startups. So it is like a child, and you are going to grow it. And of course, you're going to make money. Of course, you're going to sell it, and of course, you're going to expand it. And this is our whole objective. This is why they are turning back investors. So this is something that you need to learn, and strategically, you need to think about it. You need to think about it professionally as well, because this is not a fun experiment. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for the presentation. This question is not about games only. I am just curious, generally. Well, a story, but what do you think makes a story compelling? Well, this will bring me back to authentic design. It depends on who you're with. it would change when you tell it to your parents and tell it to the person that you like. When you are talking with your parents, you can't talk about everything, right? And when you're speaking with your partner, you would probably be thinking about the reaction that you'd receive from them. You can't really tell everything. Well, only after you get married, you may talk about everything that you wish. But you need to know what you want from the other. Specifically, is you are delivering on what they you need to know what you want very well, but you should also have an idea about what the other wants from you. This is not a story. This is all about experience, and this is all based on research. But specifically, do I have an answer to it? No. It depends. This presentation, I may be delivering it. Delivering it in Anatolia, and to be delivering it in the same manner, the reaction would be really different. So you may have a different world and perception. So you would have another perspective, and so states will be in a completely different world. As I was teaching, I was being asked to stop talking about quite simple things, and I would be shocked. And I'm thinking about it. I go home and I'm like, ask questions. People, I study my class and I work to basically lecture, and I follow the story and I just convey it, instruct it as well. But then I had this concern about what to do if the students knew better than me. But this is all about experience, right? As this more accessible right now to study, to learn your lesson well, and to position your story well. Are you going to the investors? You know who you're talking to, and that person knows you, not personally, but they probably heard 100 more% like you deliver. And you need to know where they invested and what kind of logic they pursue, how they make money, and how they experience this. So they need to, you need to have an idea about them. Ismail, we have only 2 minutes. Any other questions? My question is about, maybe have we met before? Yes. Mehmet is my name. Maybe you need it as a Istinye University had a technical part program. We attended it, but the conditions were a bit problematic, and those offered to us were a bit weird because we are a very simple indie in the incubation stage, see the small level of investment. Istinye University did common periods. Will it have a technical part program? Will it have an incubation center? Could you please answer that, because we need. Well, actually, we have many people like you in the market. We are working towards it, and I talked with Bernard outside as well, so he we would like to have a technopark with a focus on gaming. And unfortunately, the pricing policies existing parks will get rental fees in Turkey, for example, and those companies, technopark, well, unfortunately, companies don't have much opportunity here. They either have small amount of money or they isn't enough for investments, so they can't really find response that they deserve. But we need to find a solution to that. I agree. So we're going to work towards it, and the management of Istinye University is also working on it. Maybe at the end of the semester, we're going to have a tangible idea. And I think it's finished. Thank you. Thank you for your participation.